Chine Collé a la fish pool toy. What I'm doing right now is taking cheap tissue paper and I'm cutting it down to size for the areas of the pool toy that I want to cover. This is just one of those toys you toss in the water and kids dive for. So the pool toy is my plate and I'm cutting the tissue paper to fit. I would like to have it overlap so that the colors blend together. I'm just using an X-Acto knife. I'm tearing a few pieces, measuring them, and cutting them down to size. So the tissue paper will actually be sandwiched between the paper and the ink, and so all the textures of the fish being printed will be over the top. I'm inking up just like normal Intaglio, and this time I'm using Aqua inks. Using a toothbrush to get into all the little grooves. If I card it on, it won't go into the little crevices of the pool toy, little fish. There's holes in the middle of it. And then I'm going to wipe it down. I found that a paper towel wiping it took too much off, so I'm just using some old phone books, tearing a page, and then kindly wiping it off. Try not to muscle it off, so some ink remains. It takes a little bit. I had to add more ink back on because I wiped off too much at first, and now I'm just touching it up with a Q-tip. I want to keep the darker edges of the fish showing and then take out some highlights on his tail and his middle part. And as I'm doing this, I'm laughing because I love this fish. He is so freaking cute. Once the fish is wiped down to the extent I want it, I place them on the press. It's kind of hard to see because the fish is dark in color anyway, so I'm kind of having to guess how much ink is on there. So I lay it on the press on a piece of newsprint so the press doesn't get dirty. Then I take my gloves off. This is an important step because many a piece of tissue paper I have ruined for Chine Collé because I had inky fingers. So I laid all my pieces out so I can grab them easily. Now here comes the part that I used to hate in the past, and this is the method that I use, and it's been very successful for me lately. What I did is I put wheat paste powder into a salt shaker, placed a piece of tulle over the top, screwed down the lid so it shakes out nice and fine. Then I use a spray bottle and set it on a mist setting, and first what I do is I mist my paper. You can also do the powder first. It's up to you. So the wheat paste powder, when it hits the water, will start to activate, and that gluten will make things stick. So I'm essentially making wheat glue on top of my little pieces of tissue paper. Shake it on there, and you have to make sure that you cover it evenly. The reason I placed the tulle, the fabric, inside the salt shaker is so that when I shake it out, it's super fine particles. It's always good to wear masks doing this just because of the fine particles in the air. So definitely if you have asthma or if you're allergic to gluten, don't even use wheat paste powder. Do a different method. But in this case, we already masked because of COVID, so I'm shaking it out, particles in the air, but I'm not breathing them because I got a mask. If your paper starts to dry out, just mist it again and then gently lay it wheat paste powder up on your plate. So the wheat paste powder has to be up because that's where your paper is going to lay, and that's how it's glued onto your paper as you run it through the press. I'm laying the pieces out right now, gently. You'll find very quickly that the pieces want to stick to your fingers. Wherever the wheat paste has hit that water, it's becoming glue. And so it's great to use tweezers for this, but I did not have any, so I used my fingers. As I'm laying out the pieces, I'm overlapping the colors I want to blend. Okay, so you can see it starting to stick. And I'm like, oh no, because once it starts sticking, it's hard to get it off your fingers. The Chine Collé can be glued to just the normal paper, so even in areas where there is no fish, there's no ink, I can still do that as it runs through the press. And so I'm laying his fins out, however I want them, and they'll stick too. My paper has been soaking just like normal Intaglio, and I'm using 80-pound drawing paper because that is what we are using in class. So it's just drawing paper, 80-pound, and it works very, very well. So I soaked it. It probably has been soaking for about 20 minutes or so, and patting it dry just with paper towels. we reuse those too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm laying it over the top of my fish. You can see I've thrown on some rubber bands just for kicks because when they make impressions, they look like bubbles. Now I'm going to take a sheet of newsprint and I'm going to lay it over the paper just to protect the press. And then I'm going to wedge it up as tight as I can underneath the blankets without moving anything. The reason I'm doing that is because this is a tiny press and we don't have any longer rails to catch the bed. And so I want to make sure that roller can come out all the way and then I can get my print out of the press. And here's the best part. I love this part. This is so rewarding. Now I've already tested the pressure and I know how much to use for the fish, but as you can see, it might have been a little bit too tight. Here we go. Okay. Here's the results. I'm so excited. Like you can see me bouncing up and down because I'm super excited about this print. Nice embossment going on. And I'm going to peel it back just like a fruit roll-up, and bam, there we are. You can see a little bit of the Chine Collé. When I pressed it, it got stuck and peeled off the fish when I pulled it off. And it's okay, I can make it work. And what I'm doing right now, I don't suggest it, is to take an X-Acto knife and to peel off this pink part that I don't like. Unfortunately, some of the paper came off, but it irritated me, so I did it anyway. In the future, I will just leave whatever is on the paper, I'm just going to leave there. So now I have this fish, I had the one that is a blind embossment, and then for kicks, I did some puzzle pieces. So there is my stash of stuff, and I'm so excited. This was so much fun, and I can't wait to see what my students do. So if you try this, tag me, shoot me a message, let me know in the comments what yours turned out like, and I'd love to see it.